I'm Sherry Jones, SHERRYJONES, Spokane Area National Organization for Women. The report released today confirms what so many of us have suspected from the start. Our mayor covered up sexual harassment allegations and then not only lied to the public about it, but then withheld public documents in order to win re-election. This is a betrayal of the public trust and additionally a betrayal of the women who work for the city of Spokane. How can a mayor elected under false pretenses lead us now that we know the truth? How can we trust him to appoint our next police chief? How can we believe anything that he says? We at Spokane Area Now call upon Mayor Condon to step down from his post so that we can elect a leader who is open and transparent and also committed to providing a safe work environment for all employees.
What do you make of the two different versions that were released? One initially naming Mayor Condon and Brian Coddington, the communications director, and then after a conversation, the independent investigator revised it and sent out an amended version.
Well, our understanding is that this amended version came after a phone call to the independent investigator from the city attorney. And this is just another example of our mayor's attempts to hide the truth and his dishonesty with the public, his lack of transparency and his slipperiness with the truth.
And the city council said, it's up to the citizens now to take action. Are you taking action and going to ask for a formal recall, or what's the next step here?
Spokane Area Now hasn't been able to convene to discuss that, but I can tell you that we would certainly support any recall effort, and it's something that we would certainly consider leading the way.
And the report detailed for 2 years people coming forward and making complaints about a hostile work environment and an unsafe work environment. And this report shows that those allegations really didn't go anywhere. Are you worried about the work environment within City Hall?
Yes, we rely on our leaders to provide a safe work environment for our employees. And also, the mayor, he sets the standard for the whole city. It's not just the city of Spokane employees, it's all the city. He's supposed to lead by example, and he hasn't taken any of these allegations seriously. He appointed the police chief himself as his hand-picked chief, and it's obvious now from reading the investigative report that the reason that he withheld the information, didn't act, and then tried to cover it up was that he wanted to be reelected. We have a long history in Spokane of not electing mayors to second terms, and the merest whiff of scandal could have screwed up his election chances. So it's pretty apparent to us and to everyone who reads the report that that's what Mayor Condon wished to avoid, was any scandal that might taint his chances at retaining his office.
How does this report impact the complaint in front of the Ethics Commission and the fact that Mayor Condon is going to have to testify next month?
Well, it clearly shows that Mayor Condon was dishonest. In fact, he outright lied during the press conference in September that we have complained about. Our complaint centers around that press conference and his answering a reporter's question about whether any complaints had been lodged against Frank Straub alleging sexual harassment, and his answer was no. His attorney has argued about the meaning of complaint, the meaning of dishonesty. This report clearly shows that in an interview with Mayor Condon by the investigator, he admitted that he considered Monique Cotton's report to him a complaint. So it seems to me that matter should be, pretty easily resolved now by the Ethics Commission. I can't see how they could vote against our complaint and say that the mayor was being honest when he said there had been no complaints lodged.
Do you think just the mayor should step down, or all city officials stay in this?
Gosh, I haven't really considered that point. I'm more focused on the mayor because leadership comes from the top. And I'm assuming that other employees were acting under his direction. So I would say it starts with him. The buck stops with Mayor Condon. He's the one who should take responsibility instead of avoiding it as he's been doing for almost a year now. I also want to say that whatever else I find egregious about this whole situation is that Ms. Cotton did show Mayor Condon text messages that were sent to her 2 years ago. So if her allegations of sexual harassment are true, then she has been enduring this treatment from Chief Straub for 2 years by the time she ever reported this to the mayor. And his so-called investigation that the report outlines is not adequate, and by not turning this over to Human Resources for an investigation, he clearly violated city policy, and he should be censured for that at least.
My name's Rick Eichstadt. I'm the executive director of the Center for Justice here in Spokane. I just have a few comments. First, as Ms. Jones with the National Organization of Women mentioned, this report makes it clear that Now's complaint before the Ethics Commission is valid. Reading on page 88 of the complaint clearly outlines and has an excerpt from the transcript of the interview with the mayor, and he was specifically asked, did you consider that she, Monique Cotton, was making a complaint? And his answer is, in the sense yes. I turned that over to Teresa to further take through the process, yes. And the follow-up question, so you did think that Monique was making a complaint. His answer was, she was complaining about something, yes. So the ethics complaint should stand based upon the mayor's own complaint, or own testimony that he provided to the independent investigator. Second point I want to raise is that this report indicates the close and what I believe is an inappropriate relationship between the city attorney's office and the mayor's office. We have to remember that the city attorney's job is to be the city or the attorney for the entire city, to represent all departments, the city council, as well as the mayor's office. What this report concludes is that the city attorney's office and the staff there actually had a role in deliberately holding documents until after the election. It is not the job of our city attorney's office to assist the mayor in his re-election. It's not the job of the city attorney's office to hide embarrassing facts about the mayor from the public and other elected officials in the city attorney's office. And I think this is a good example of why we actually need an elected city attorney in Spokane. We need somebody who doesn't answer solely to the mayor, that's not going to answer to the mayor. And I call into question the change in the report. It's our understanding that after reading the report, the mayor was upset and asked the proposed city attorney, Laura McAloon, to make a call to the independent investigator that resulted in these changes. Again, it's not Laura McAloon's job. It's not the city attorney's job to advocate on behalf of the mayor. It's the city attorney's office job to advocate for the city as a whole. I think with that, I'll answer any questions. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Liz Moore from Pajals. Okay.
My name is Liz Moore. I'm the director of the Peace and Justice Action League of Spokane. We are based in principles of nonviolence, and we stand to expose and transform systems of violence. And what I want to start out by saying is that sexism is a system of violence. That when we condone examples of sexism that are not physically violent, we normalize sexism, we create space for examples of sexism, sexist acts that move down the violence spectrum. Harassment cannot be a condition of employment in our city or in any organization. We have to have a zero tolerance policy towards sexual harassment in our city and in every department of our city, including our police department. And we look to the top elected official in our community to lead on that and to enforce that appropriately. That has not happened in this case. We see that the mayor and his administration deceived the voters in order to manipulate the election. That is a betrayal of public trust. Trust is absolutely critical to a democracy, and we know that during this presidential year, Encouraging members of our community to register to vote and to vote is absolutely critical to the functioning of our country. This kind of behavior seriously damages the kind of trust that we have to build in order to encourage people to participate in our democratic processes. It's a serious issue beyond our city, and we look to our city leaders to lead with our community's values. I think it is appropriate for Sanders, Dalton, and Coddington to immediately resign. What we can see is that manipulating the election is grounds for resignation or recall on part of the mayor. It's a violation of the city code and state law. And in this moment where our community is looking forward toward reform in the police department and ending this pattern of sexual misconduct, and sexual misconduct is not even a strong enough word for the sort of behavior we've seen from our police department, we absolutely have to look to the office of the mayor to lead in zero tolerance of sexual harassment or any kind of sexual misconduct. And I echo Rick's comments around the behavior of Ms. McAloon. She should have recognized that it was unethical and unacceptable for her to contact Ms. Cappel outside of the process that had been set up by the 4-member committee. And to me, that clearly states that she should not be in the role of city attorney. We need our city attorney to work for the interest of our city as a community and as a whole, and not merely to be on the lookout for the mayor and his political career or his political prospects. That's all. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you.